I finished. I wrote a book. I wrote an entire book. I didn't just start the first chapter and put it down for fear of failing like I've been doing for the past, I don't know, my whole life. I wrote a novel, start to finish. Don't pause and try and read anything. Once upon a time, all the way up to the end. Look at this. Look. This is the first draft, so I have to go through at least a couple editing sweeps before querying editors. So fancy. But just holding it in its completion is enough to make me want to push through the rest of the process and start all over again from zero on the next story. Look, that's thick. Yeah, I wrote a binder full of smut. Well, now that that's out of my system, like the whole thing, let's jump into our April wrap-up. Sorry if I'm still just giddy, it's just, I wrote a book. You should see what happens in the book too. It's so good, so dirty. I'm biased, but you know. All right, let's start with The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi. Brought to you by the same author of the Blvd trilogy, S.A. Chakraborty has outdone herself again with yet another fantasy filled with rich culture, world building, and a diverse representation of characters. Chakraborty does well to weave Middle Eastern customs and traditions into her stories that celebrates the heritage, and I am deeply grateful for that. She also does not dwell on the prettiness of characters as other fantasies tend to do. It's always a young, beautiful girl that vanquishes the evil, but here it's a mother, a daughter, a friend, a pirate captain, and one of the coolest characters I've read in a while. The book follows a classic story arc that introduces the inciting incident for our main character early on. We're told the bargain and what our main character Amina will gain and lose by taking on the adventure. Through the hero's journey, we learn more about Amina's past and how she's found herself in such treacherous seas. Amina also has solid inner and outer conflicts that parallel one another through her morals and actions. And the ending, no spoilers, but it's a happy one, so it's got that too. It's like, nice. Which isn't always guaranteed with fantasy, but I'm telling you now it is here, so there you go. My only gripe is that some attributes to some of the characters seem to be checking boxes rather than a solid reason for a character's development. I also checked out the audiobook just to hear what it sounded like, and this narrator is for sure better than the one who did City of Brass. She could actually pronounce the Arabic names and phrases, so 4 stars. So much fun. I heard an Arabic remix to the Pirates of the Caribbean theme the whole time I was reading. It was just Hans Zimmerman with a bunch of drums. It was fun. Oh, somebody make that. I don't have time. Next, we have The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. If you've been watching this channel from the very beginning, you may have a vague memory of me sitting in this chair 2 houses ago when I cried, eating cookies with mascara running down my face because I read They Both Die at the End. This is the prequel. This hurt just as bad. But between then and now, I've read titles such as these, so I've toughened up a bit. I can handle more misery at this point. This prequel introduces the creator of Deathcast, a company with unknown sources that is able to know any person's death day of death. You sign up for the program, and at midnight every night you either get a call saying it's your end day or you don't, and you're able to live the next 24 hours with a guarantee of survival. This, in theory, allows individuals to live freely, whether it's their death day or not. We're introduced to our main 2 characters, one with a heart condition and one with a dream to become a model in New York City. They meet in Times Square on the night the world changed. The night Deathcast launched. And one of them is the first ever person to be named a Decker. The first person to be called by Deathcast. We read through the rest of their 24 hours as the 2 boys live a lifetime in one day together, and it's beautifully sad. Silvera has an unsettling ability to give you hope while reading. Like, maybe if I read really slow and I'm super careful, maybe no one will die. But that's not the case. It's in the title. It's baked right in there. There's no hope, only misery. And that's just how I like it sometimes. So, 3.5 stars.
Is there any crossover in characters?
Yes, actually, there are. But because this is set a bit before, you see some of the characters in the first one as children. And it's just like in passing. That's what's kind of interesting about his stories, just the 2 that I've read really, is that everything is coincidental and everyone is connected in some way. So whoever you think they are, they're actually someone else to someone else. And It's nice to see everything woven so intricately, and it all just makes sense. Like a tapestry in the end. It's great. He also has a way of writing that's very fluid, and it feels YA without feeling like you're reading YA. So it's very easy to read. I just noticed I put this on backwards.
Oh, I did that.
You did? Why? Moving on. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. After the disappointment of reading The Paris Apartment, I didn't exactly have high expectations for this one, but it pulled through. I couldn't put it down. I read it straight through in one sitting. It was fun, twisty, smart, and engaging. The story is set on a remote island off the coast of Ireland. A glamorous wedding takes a dark turn when murder interrupts the festivities. The narrative is told from a multi-character perspective, introducing an ensemble of characters that all have motive. It's a whodunit that was done so much better than The Paris Apartment. Instead of certain characters wearing a sign on their head that says, "It was me!" you, as the reader, are actually expected to use your brain and try to solve the mystery before reaching the last page. Now, I don't want to give it too high praise because I've definitely read better, specifically from Alice Feeney. No secret here, I am a Feeney fan, but Foley falls between Feeney and, say, Lisa Jewell. Overall, it was thrilling and satisfying and is a definite good time for fans of the murder mystery thriller genre. 3 stars. I think the best part of the read for me was that it took me an evening just to finish. It didn't drag, the writing was fluid, and the ending had a little bow on it, so it was good. Was good. I just realized every author I read this month are repeats. No new authors. Maybe that's something to change next month. I don't like change. Well, let's continue with A Man Called Ove by Richard Bachman. I've heard this pronounced Ove, Uve, and I believe there's a movie adaptation where they just bailed on the name altogether and called the man Otto. Now a major motion picture, A Man Called Otto. Sticker you can't remove. I'm just gonna say Ove, because that's how it's written. O-V-E. There's an E at the end, you pronounce the O. Ove. Anxious People, also by Bachman, is a personal favorite of mine. There's even a character called Nadia in that one, and I liked it. But today we're talking about a character called Ove. This book was heartwarming and poignant. It captured the essence of humanity, something I think Bachman is particularly adept at. The story centers our MC, Ove, a grumpy and solitary old man who is the definition of set in his ways and has ultimately given up on life. But as the story unfolds, characters make their way into Ove's life, and we see there is much more to him than his quirky routines and predisposition for grumpiness. We spend the entire book understanding the complexities of this one simple man. Characteristics that are mirrored in Bachman's writing style. He's simple and direct, yet deeply affecting with a keen eye for the small moments and details that remind you you're living. The group of introduced characters are memorable and endearing. From Ove's past to his present and everything in between, he finds something to live for every day despite attempting the contrary. This novel was simply beautiful, with a message of kindness and compassion. Keep in mind that this was translated from Swedish to English by Henning Koch? Not that I read the original version, but I believe Koch did well to interpret the essence of each character and bring the story full circle in a way that was so satisfying and poetic. Just well done. It didn't throw me into a sobbing fit, but it did pull a few tears, so 4 stars. Actually, I haven't cried in a while. Please comment down below something that's gonna make me sob. I wanna sob for a good time. Now for a bit of sci-fi. The Martian by Andy Weir. After reading Project Hail Mary, I had to get my hands on another Weir. I listened to this one, and that was a bad idea. I liked Project Hail Mary so much more than this one, I think solely because I read the physical copy of Hail Mary rather than listening to whoever did the audiobook for The Martian. A man who clearly needs to take some acting lessons, specifically in the category of tone. I almost stopped listening altogether because I just found this narrator so annoying. Weir has a knack for explaining complex scientific concepts and theories while still maintaining a sense of humor and wit. And this guy just did not convey that properly. He went all humor. It felt like I was listening to a sci-fi novel narrated by a clown college dropout. Here I am, all alone, on Mars. I'm a botanist. I grew potatoes on Mars. I'm technically a pirate. A space pirate. Like, dude. Read the room. You know who did an excellent job of taking Weir's exact words and conveying them in their intended manner with proper tone and inflection? Matt Damon. Pablo and I watched the movie after reading the book, and yes, he should have done the audiobook instead. I think he did a fair job in portraying the character and the expected human experiences he had alone on a far-off planet. Okay, back to the actual story. Other than the narration bringing it down, the content of the book itself is everything you can ask for with a sci-fi book, except for aliens. The story is well-paced, thrilling in the right places, and full of science. And a lot of math. It's full of so much math that, especially listening to it, I found that kind of frustrating because I wish I could have seen all the math that was happening. Weir captures the imagination of the reader while inspiring a sense of wonder about the possibilities of life on another planet. He's sharp and witty and does an excellent job of balancing technical details with compelling storytelling. The entire time while reading, you're right there with the MC trying to figure out if everything he does is truly conceivable. I think by this point everyone knows the basic plot. An astronaut stranded on Mars after a dust storm separates him from his crew. With limited resources and no way to communicate with Earth, our MC, Watney, must use his ingenuity and knowledge to survive and find a way to make contact with Houston and tell them about his problem. That was a joke. There was a touching message in the end of humanity's intrinsic nature to help one another, the altruistic drive for the world to come together just to save the life of one. I think that was my favorite part of the experience. Overall, like I said, I did enjoy Project Hail Mary more, though I'd still recommend The Martian to all sci-fi lovers. The movie was pretty fun as well, just do not listen to it, the audiobook. Or do, just to hear how ridiculous it sounds, and then pick up the physical book and actually read it, because that's how it should be done. 4 stars. Okay, that's all I have for you today, dear viewers. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you liked it and subscribe for more. You may have seen a short TikTok recently of our April book haul, which includes a few new releases I intend on finishing. As of filming this video, I'm currently reading Happy Place by Emily Henry, and it's everything you can expect from an Emily Henry book so far, with a few familiar, yet reimagined tropes. Familiar. Today's shout out goes to Erin Craig. I'm glad you liked Project Hail Mary, like I said in last month's wrap up, and like I just said now, Weir does a good job of making sci-fi accessible and appealing to the human experience. Next, I'll be reading Artemis to complete the triangle of Weir. It's somewhere over there. I have the physical copy. I intend on reading it. I have the hardback. I will not be listening to any more of his books. All right. I'm off to start editing the book I wrote. You know, the book that I wrote. I wrote a book. I'm gonna go edit it now because it needs a lot of editing. I think a lot of this is just gonna bold and brash, more like belongs in the trash. No, not all of it. So maybe some. Maybe a few lines can just pages, maybe chapters. It hasn't gotten old yet. I wrote a book. I've never done this before. I've never been this far in the process, but it's all exciting, all the same. I just like sitting here and doing this. Stay lost, keep reading and writing. Goodbye. Whoa.